I remember being a young lad, waking up in the morning and watching reruns of old Ben 10 Classic. I enjoyed the concept. I mean, who didn't? A 10-year-old boy who finds an alien watch that allows him to turn to all these different kinds of aliens? I mean, yeah, I ate that stuff up like it's nothing. Seeing Ben unlock new aliens, learn new skills as each alien, how to use them right in a fight against different kind of aliens or humans, or just as well as save people with them. From the character growth, the various adventures Ben goes on, and the great action we got to see, and not to mention, a highlight for me, the alien transformations. We all like transformations, right? I do. For your Power Rangers, to your Dragon Ball, to your Ben 10. To me, a great transformation should be a smooth but detailed transition from Form A to Form B. It doesn't need to be long, it just needs to work. Also, having those said forms and transformations being unique from each other and not just repeat animations or recolors is a huge bonus. And with 10 aliens from the get-go, with their unique looks and shape, they're bound to have some interesting transformation sequences. Some great and some not so much. So here's my rankings on the best transformation sequences in classic Ben 10. For any to count, they need to have their own transformation sequence from Ben to said alien. So, sorry, Ben Wolf is not going to be here. I would love to add him here, but sadly he doesn't have his own transformation sequence. Yes, Ben does turn into him, but that's a gradual change as the Omnitrix was absorbing the DNA sample it received. So, sorry. So if your rank is different from mine, that's totally fine. In fact, let me know what your ranking is. Who's your favorite classic transformation? Rolling up at number 12 with the Arborian Pelorota, Cannonbolt. The alien Ben unlocks in Season 2, Episode 2, the Tick from, well, random means. Or due to the fact that the Arborian Pelorota's, Cannonbolt species, was made extinct by the Great One just a few weeks before his arrival on Earth. Almost like the Omnitrix somehow sensed the Great One's arrival and gave Ben access to Cannonbolt. Anyway, his transformation sequence, well, there isn't really much to comment on. It's just Ben expanding and then fading into him being Cannonbolt, which marks this one as one of the more weaker transformations, as the others show more detail as Ben slowly turns into the alien. Like, you don't even see the shells on Cannonbolt actually form on Ben, he just kind of fades into Cannonbolt. Not hating, just other ones have more variety. At number 11, the Galvanic Necromorph, the Walking Pimp Up My Tech, upgrade. Well, his transformation is a step up as you see Ben get coated in some almost like digital hardware as we zoom in to see what will soon to be Upgrade's eye, and then he's fully transformed into him. Again, it's a step up, but not by much. It would have been nice to see maybe his body like stretch and become less humanoid in his proportions, like maybe his arms and torso, but I do appreciate the finer detail in his skin morphing, and you see all like the little digital hardware and stuff. Just wish we could have seen more covering him before we actually see him transform completely. At number 10 is the Ectoneurite, the alien Fanch from the other planet. I was trying to make a rhyme thing with every one of them, but it wasn't working, so take that as you will. Ghostfreak. Now, as much as he is my favorite of the classic series, his transformation, not so much. With it quickly zooming in as Ben thins away as his eyes sinks into the sockets, and then he's Ghostfreak. Now here's where things get interesting. Ghostfreak has two transformations, kind of. This was his debut transformation. Quite sure, huh? Well, here's the alternative. With the debut, it quickly zooms in to Ben's eyes as his body thins away, his eyes sinking into darkness, but in the alternate, Ben has more thinning details on him and he flickers into a skeleton compared to the debut where we don't even really see that skeleton at all. Which, I favour the alt for the pacing as we see Ben gradually fade away, though I would have maybe made the transition to the skeleton more of a gradual crossfade, or just more smoothly transition, fitting with the whole ghost vibe thing. Again, it's a fine transformation, but others have caught my interest. Here's our Galvin with the big brain at number 9, Grey Matter, giving us the shot of Ben's arms transformed as we get to see Ben slowly morph more into a Galvin, hair disappearing, and then he shrinks down to his usual size. Simple transformation, but I do wish we get to see his human hands actually form into Galvin hands instead of just starting off with them. I don't know if it'd be better if maybe we have him subtly shrink down while transforming or not. I don't know if that might be too much of a hassle trying to keep track of him shrinking while he's morphing. Maybe that would have been too much for the budget, I don't know. Also, a slight nitpick, his Omnitrix logo slowly moves too close to Ben's left arm, when it should be more tracked to his back, but I think that was just a little issue, but it's a very simple transformation, very nice. Who let the Vulpurmancer out? At number 8, Wildmutt. We get the familiar starting arm transformation with it reaching Ben's eye, which for a lot of the classic aliens, they kind of did that for a lot of them, so you might see this a few times. Getting a quick rotation shot of Ben covered in fur, and it zooms in on his mouth, and we zoom out and he's become more like Wildmutt, which the transition from Ben to Wildmutt from the mouth was a very smooth one to me. And then we see his claws retracting out as he roars. It would have been cool to see Ben's eyes like move more to like the sides of his head or his neck, as his body becomes more Vulpurmancer-y, with like small shots of like his sensors flexing and closing. I don't know, it's just some ideas. This again's a fine transformation, but others deserve to be higher. At number 7, sprucing quite nicely, a Florana type, Wildvine. At Season 2, Episode 7, Camp Fear, Ben and the gang were dealing with some plant-based threats at the time, and that may have triggered him to unlock Wildvine again, similar to the Tick. That kind of fiasco. Anyway, I like that we get to see the arms turn into vines as it creeps up and ensnares Ben, and then we see him like sprout pods in his back. And my favorite part, where he opens up his Venus flytrap head and it reveals the actual head. A very nice transformation, very solid. I like the detail, it is solid, but others caught my attention more, but it deserves its ranking on the list. Speeding on up at number 6, Accelerate, a Cancelerin. Again, I'm trying to pronounce these as best as I can. Now, with Accelerate, he has various transformation sequences, and each of them have their own kind of added flavor to them. With his debut form sequence, we get the arm morphing and we go up to his eye. Ben's eye shifts into Accelerates, but it's done in some sort of like effects filter or something, like at least from what it looks like to me. Very digitalized, if that makes any sense. Then we get his feet changing, just a quick change, though they change as the screen fades in, so we don't get a really good look at it, then finishing up with the transformation. But in a later episode, aside from the outfit change, the lights go white, change to Accelerate with an electric kind of charge, which I do like, but again, the green tint kind of drowns it out. Though I think if Ben's legs just kind of vibrated really fast and with some motion blur, and see him slowly turn into Accelerate, I think that'd be kind of neat. And for the third and final alternate, when it reaches Ben's eye, it does this kind of droplet effect. A lot more smoother than the earlier, but it's still kind of like a crossfade, not like an actual like in-depth transformation to the eyes. So it's not an actual transition from A to B. But if we were to combine the three into one, it could be a decent Accelerate transformation. From the depths of the Omnitrix, number 5, Piscus Volin, Ripjaws. We get a shot of Ben's skin forming into like fish scales, and then we get to see him open his hands, and we see the webbed fish hands. That was kind of cool. Seeing Ripjaws' Eska sprout out from Ben's forehead, stretching out of his forehead. And then my favorite part, where we see like he starts to form like these gills, and his mouth like forcibly reshapes into Ripjaws' notable mouth shape and teeth. I love that. Very nice. Nothing really wrong with it, just other transformations caught my attention. Quality transformation. Turning up the heat at number 4, the Pyronite ready to ignite, Heatblast. We're given the OG first alien transformation, where it's starting off with the arm sequence, with the volcanic skin starting to form on his arm, and you can see the bits flying off as it spreads all over his body to his eye. Then we see the hot plasma ignite as we get to see him in a full shot of Heatblast. I thought it'd be kind of cool if we got to see the ignition of the plasma flames, like start from the chest and work their way up to the eyes, and his signature flames to his head ignites like a lighter and it lights up his whole body. The reason this one is so high up is solely for the wonderful crunchy animation of the Pyronite's skin as it spreads, but with the lesser variety is a few numbers down, and some others just caught my attention more. But don't hate the Heatblast, he still is a solid transformation. From the third place, weighing 300 pounds, a Tetraman who throws the hands, Fourarms. With Fourarms, we get the same shot from Accelerate and Wildmutt. Would have been cooler to see maybe his arms like get more veinier, not like morph the way they do, but it's just like it gets veinier as they like expand and they flex a little maybe, and then we see Ben's eyes maybe close, and then both his eyes and his eyebrows become the Tetraman eyes as they open up, just to help it really pop out. Then we get this shot of Ben's body all riddled up with muscles and veins, and I just love seeing that kind of level of detail. Like, look at this thing! Nightmare fuel! Like, seeing the step-by-step process from the form A to form B, and then the second set of arms sprout out as he spins and he flexes it up. Oh no, I just love the extra detail of like, the arms just shoot out and see kind of like the gunk come out. That just looks sick to me. I love seeing the betweens from Ben to Fourarms and overall details of the in-betweens. They just look so nasty, but in a really cool way. Coming up at number 2, second best, but still has its Patrosapien value, Diamondhead. Like some of the other aliens, Diamondhead has an alternate. On his debut, we get to see Ben reaching out as the Patrosapien skin starts to form in his arm. Then we see it kind of layer over his head. As it encases him in the Patrosapien skin, we get to see a close-up of Ben's eye, and we see a layer cover up the eye as well. In an alternate sequence, the whole sequence has almost like a glossy kind of sheen to it. I don't know, it just looks like it's got like kind of a glow up to it. The Patrosapien skin looks more detailed as it coats over Ben's arm. When it starts covering his head, we see this faint like inner layer like between the Patrosapien skin and Ben's skin. You see like this thin shelling covering up like Ben's face. I don't know, but it looks kind of interesting. Which I think looks better information-wise, and when it reaches Ben's eye, it has this reflective transition as it turns into Diamondhead's eye, which I think is an absolute step up. I think that looks really neat. Then we get this new shot of Diamondhead's shoulder blades, and you see the large spikes pierce out, and then we get the turnaround for the final shot. I really think this is a solid transformation sequence, no pun intended, especially with the crystallization forming. My favorite pieces are the zoom in on the eye and the spikes shooting out the back. Absolutely perfect to me. But sadly, someone has took number 1, and I don't want to be biased, but I do like Diamondhead, but I don't want to be biased from my ranking, so he'll be at number 2. Still pretty good. He's rough around the edges, but he works. At the top, reeking of that number 1 stench, the Lepidopteran Stinkfly. We get the Omnitrix sinking into Ben's arm as it turns into Stinkfly's arms. Would have been nice to see a few extra seconds of like the establishing hand, and then it flashes to the next part. As soon as they open its flash, I get that's probably the intention, but I would like to have maybe seen it establish the hands open in a few seconds, then it flashes. Then we get Ben's head rising as Stinkfly's eyes just sprout out from the side of his head, and then we see like all the gunk come out as the eyes sprout out, and oh, that's just, ooh, I love that kind of detail. And then we see the wings and extra appendages pierce through his back, seeing like almost looks like pieces of Ben's shirt flying off, with the extra limbs stretching out. And then we see the tail rise up. Absolutely love it. This form is more in line with like body horror kind of vibes, similar to like Fourarms, but in more detail to me. I mean, to be fair, Fourarms is all veiny and stuff, but for some reason Stinkfly just stuck out to me more for some reason. But to me, this one just feels more like a step-by-step transformation from point A to point B. From Ben to Alien, seeing all the noble features of the alien forming from or out of Ben, seeing every step of each transformation works well for the sequence on transforming to the next piece. Though Stinkfly isn't a highlight favourite of mine, it's not that I don't like him, it's just he's not really one of my favourites. But I can appreciate the level of detail in this transformation sequence. Like I said, I would have put Diamondhead at number 1, but I didn't want my bias to overcloud my judgment on the rankings, because if something looks good, and maybe not my favorite, I'll still admit, hey, it's still pretty good. So that is the rankings of the classic Ben 10 series transformations. Do you agree with my rankings? If not, how would you rank the classic transformations? Is there any other Ben 10 lists you'd like to see me do in the future, like maybe the Ultimate Aliens designs from rank? Let me know in the comments down below. This has been Drew, those are my views, and I bid you adieu.